Watch what happens right now. I'm in the middle of a coding session. The model is moving fast, burning through a simple refactor, cheap and quick. Then I hit a wall, a bug that doesn't make sense, logic that should work but doesn't. I type one short command. No restart, no losing my place, no copying the conversation somewhere else. The exact same session keeps running, except now it's thinking with real depth, tracing the problem the way a senior engineer would, step by step, checking its own assumptions before it commits to an answer. That's the whole idea behind switching models inside this tool. You're not locked into one brain for the entire session. You pick the right one for the moment you're in. Here's why that actually works. And it's not magic, it's design. This tool was built with 4 separate doors into the same setting. One door for switching instantly while you're mid-conversation. One door for choosing at the exact second you launch a new session. One door for setting a default that follows you into every terminal you open. And one door for locking a choice into a project, so it applies no matter who opens that folder or what they personally prefer. 4 doors, 1 lock. Once you know which door to use for which situation, you stop wasting money on tasks that didn't need power, and you stop wasting time on problems that needed more than a light model could give you. Before we go further, if you want the exact commands on screen instead of just hearing them, tap like right now. That's what tells the platform this is worth showing to more people. Drop a comment with which model you default to. I read every one of them and I'll answer directly. And hit subscribe before you keep watching, because near the end, I'm going to show you the one mistake that quietly breaks this entire setup for almost everyone who tries it, and you want to already be subscribed when we get there. Okay, let's actually build this. First, understand what you're choosing between. There isn't just a model. There's a small lineup, and each one is tuned for a different kind of pressure. There's a fast, lightweight option, built for high-volume, repetitive work, fixing lint errors across 50 files, renaming variables, reading boilerplate tests, anything where speed matters more than depth.
There's a balanced general-purpose option that most people leave running by default. It handles day-to-day feature work, normal debugging, and regular back-and-forth coding without you thinking about it. There's a heavyweight reasoning option for the moments that actually deserve it. Architecture decisions, a bug that survived 3 attempts already, untangling a system nobody fully understands anymore. And there's a frontier option, built for the biggest jobs, the kind that don't fit in a single sitting. Migrating an entire codebase, investigating a production outage with no clear starting point. Long sessions where the tool needs to hold context and keep working without you babysitting every step. You don't need to memorize version numbers. The tool gives each of these a plain word, a nickname, so you never have to type something long and easy to mistype. Now here's method 1, and it's the one you'll use the most because it happens live, inside a conversation you're already having. Type the / command for model on its own with nothing after it. A picker opens right there in your terminal, every available option, listed, with your current one already highlighted. Arrow down, hit enter, done. The next message you send goes to the new model. Nothing else about your session changes. Your files, your history, your context, all of it stays exactly where it was. Or skip the picker entirely. Type the command followed directly by the nickname you want. Straight to the balanced model, straight to the heavyweight one, whatever you need, in one line, no many. Here's a real situation where this earns its keep. You're refactoring a form component. Mechanical, low-risk work. Default model, moving quickly. Then you touch the validation logic and a bug appears that makes no sense. The state updates, but the UI doesn't reflect it, and you've already stared at it for a few minutes. Instead of opening a browser tab to search for the answer, you switch models mid-conversation. The heavier model already has the entire file in front of it, already knows what you were doing, and it starts reasoning through render cycles and stale closures instead of guessing. It finds the problem in one pass, because it isn't starting from zero, it's starting from everything you already discussed. That's method 1. Instant, in session, reversible anytime. Method 2 happens earlier, before the session even starts. When you launch the tool from your terminal, you can attach a flag that names the model you want, right there in the same command you use to start everything.
This is for when you already know what kind of work is coming before you even open the tool, not switching mid-task, choosing on the way in. Here's where this becomes genuinely powerful, and most people never think to do it. You can run 2 terminals side by side, each one launched with a different model attached to that specific flag. One window running the fast, cheap option, chewing through a stack of small fixes. Another window, right next to it, running the heavyweight option, working through a design decision that actually needs deep reasoning. 2 brains, 2 terminals, working in parallel, each one sized correctly for what it's doing. That's not something the in-session / command can do for you, because a launch flag is locked to the session it started, so each terminal keeps its own choice independently. Method 3 moves the decision out of any single session entirely, into your environment itself. You set a variable in your shell that names your preferred model. Once that's set, every new session you launch picks it up automatically, without you typing a flag, without opening the picker, without doing anything at all. This is for people who already know their pattern. Maybe you almost always want the balanced option unless you say otherwise. Set the variable once, forget about it, and every fresh terminal already starts where you want it to. But here's the warning I told you about earlier, the mistake that trips up almost everyone the first time they try this. People assume that variable is permanent, set it and forget it, done forever. It isn't. It only lives for as long as that terminal session is open. Close the window, open a new one, and if you didn't set it somewhere permanent, like your shell's startup file, it's gone, silently, no warning. The tool just quietly falls back to whatever the account default is, and you won't necessarily notice. You'll just be running a different model than you think you are. I've seen people spend real money running a heavyweight model for weeks by accident, because they thought a temporary setting was permanent, when it was only ever active in one terminal tab that got closed days ago. So if you want it permanent, don't just type the export command by hand in your terminal. Put it inside your shell's startup file, the one that loads automatically every time you open a new window. That's the difference between a setting that lasts one afternoon and one that lasts until you deliberately change it. And if you're ever unsure which model is actually active right now, don't guess. There's a status command built exactly for this. Run it, and it shows you your current MODI along with your account details. Right there, no ambiguity. Method 4 is the one for teams, and for anyone working across more than one project with different needs. Inside your project, there's a settings file. Inside that file, a single field controls the model for that project specifically. Here's why this matters more than it sounds like it does. Settings cascade. Your personal preference is your baseline, but a project-level setting sitting on top of it takes priority whenever you're working inside that folder. Think about a real team scenario. Most of your repositories are simple, well understood, and the balanced model handles them fine, so that stays your personal default everywhere. But one repository is old, tangled, full of implicit behavior nobody documented. You don't want to trust that codebase to anything less than the heaviest reasoning available. And you don't want to rely on every single developer remembering to switch manually every time they open it. So you set the model field inside that one project settings file to the heavyweight option. Now, anyone on the team who opens that specific folder automatically gets the stronger model, regardless of what they personally prefer everywhere else. Nobody has to remember anything. The project remembers for them. That's the real difference between a personal habit and an actual system. A habit depends on you remembering. A system doesn't care whether you remember. Let's put all 4 together with one more concrete walkthrough, start to finish, the way an actual work session might go. You open your terminal in the morning. Your shell variable already points to the balanced model, so every session opens ready for regular work without you touching anything. You spend an hour on routine feature work, moving quickly, nothing dramatic. Then you hit something genuinely hard, a bug tied to a race condition that only shows up sometimes. Right there in the conversation, you type the / command, jump straight to the heavyweight model, and stay in the exact same thread, same context, same files already loaded. Once it's solved, you don't need that power anymore.
/command again, back down to balanced, and you keep working normally. Later, you open a second terminal for a completely different, much bigger task, something that's going to run for a long stretch without much supervision. This time you launch it with the flag pointed straight at the frontier model, because that's a decision you're making at the start, not something to switch into mid-conversation. And in the background, sitting untouched the entire time, your team's legacy repository has its model locked inside its own settings file. So whenever anyone opens it on any machine, it's already running the heaviest reasoning available automatically. 4 different situations, 4 different doors, not one wasted dollar on power you didn't need, and not one moment stuck on a hard problem with a model that was never built to solve it. Most people run Claude Code exactly like they run any ordinary app. One fixed setting, chosen once on day 1, and never touched again. The people who get real leverage out of this tool treat